Very well. First of all, I want to follow the example. I want to apologize for not speaking Italian. It may appear a little bit strange, Portuguese in Italy, speaking English, but I confess, I don't feel comfortable and secure enough to speak Italian, at least to speak Italian in public. I hope you understand. I want to thank the organization of the seminar for the gentle invitation to be here, and I sincerely expect these few words, this brief presentation, can bring something interesting and useful in order to know a little better the Portuguese system of public finance. Before addressing directly the subject that brings us here, European constraints and local public finance, I think it is useful to make some previous remarks. First, I want to make here a legal presentation with accent or with focus on legal aspects of public finance instead of economical, historical or political aspects. In other words, I will have in mind not statistics, not facts, not political intentions, but only legal norms, principles and rules, as we will see. In second place, from a structural point of view, my brief presentation will be divided in two parts. Initially, a theoretical approach, what I call a theoretical approach, about the exposition of some inefficiencies and some failures of the Portuguese legal framework, considering public finances. And second, what I call a realistic approach about the constraints, the limitations, the very hard limitations currently imposed to Portugal on the context of the demands of the European Union and the Stability and Growth Pact. Of course, I don't need to say this, but I want to. I will bring here an impartial and neutral analysis, and I don't know if time is available for that. I'll be at your disposition, available to answer any questions you may have. Very well. Considering the first topic, the theoretical approach, one relevant and very important idea I would like to begin by emphasizing is this. Unfortunately, in Portugal, a big part of financial decisions, or if we want, a big part of decisions concerning public finances are motivated by emotional reasons and not by logical or juridical reasons or legal reasons. An example, a big proportion of public spending or decisions considering public spending is motivated on the election cycle, which may suggest that for political actors or political decision makers or financial actors, it is more important the fear of losing elections than the correct use of public money. Another example, some public investments, fortunately not the major part, but some public investments are made under pressure or as a consequence of pressure of powerful economical groups, which also may suggest that it is more important not losing the supports than the correct use of public money. Well, I think we can surely agree that emotion and fear is one of the biggest enemies of a good financial decision, and on the contrary, rationality is the key word, or must be the key word, when we are talking about public interest and public monies. In my opinion, and from a legal point of view, this rationality becomes visible with an acceptable, an adequate, a proper framework composed by principles and rules. And I insist on this point. Only with an acceptable legal system can public money be correctly used. Let's see briefly what I consider an acceptable legal system. Beginning by principles. I think there are two principles that deserve here special reference, and I have chosen these two principles because a big part of Portuguese problems are a consequence of their infringement and not simply a consequence of lack of money, as it is currently said. More, I even think that Portuguese problems are not only financial problems, but also, or mostly, legal problems. First principle, the intergenerational balance, or the balance or equity between generations. Present generations must act in order to assure an acceptable standard of existence to future generations in a double way. In a positive way, giving them good conditions, producing public goods such as hospitals, roads, universities, and so on, and in a negative way, do not charging them, the future generations, with a large number of responsibilities or debts or obligations. The second principle, the principle of responsibility, which demands that each political actor, each financial decision maker should be responsible for its own acts, not only in face of the hierarchy, when it is the case, of course, but also in face of the courts, the legislative powers, and the citizens in general. Based on these principles, these two principles and several others, of course, but based on these principles, it is important to create a set of rules concerning more specific, more concrete aspects. Some examples of these rules could be, in my opinion, despite they not exist in Portugal, the constitutional imposition of long-term planning instruments. Not only the annual or the yearly budget, but also instruments of planning at a medium and long term. In second place, the constitutional imposition of limits concerning public debt, public expenses, and the constitutional imposition also of the access to credit by public bodies, specifically municipalities. So, taking into account these dual structured principles and rules, what can we say about the Portuguese legal framework? Those principles that I've mentioned before, they are not followed at all. And these rules, despite some exceptions, they do not exist. They are not prescribed on the Portuguese Constitution. As a result, we can watch, we can see, we can assist a general feeling, unfortunately, a general feeling of financial or fiscal indiscipline and a large number of debt situations over all public bodies, or almost all public bodies, specifically municipalities. Of course, we also have the risk of non-compliance of compromises on the European context, particularly the Stability and Growth Pact. What is fact is that some of these inefficiencies, some of these failures have recently been identified and emphasized by external actors, the European Union and the Troika, and Portugal is now in face of a very hard, a severe program concerning public finances. And this brings me to the second part of my presentation, the constraints imposed to Portugal. In May 2011, last May, was written a memorandum of understanding between Portuguese authorities and a troika composed by representatives of the International Monetary Fund, European Commission and European Central Bank. A memorandum of understanding, I was saying, laying down the conditions or establishing the conditions in order to assure financial assistance to Portugal. Financial assistance from the European Financial Stabilization Mechanism to Portugal. This memorandum prescribes general and specific conditions for the financial assistance. As general conditions, I can appoint or I can emphasize. First, the financial assistance is only conceded if some concrete measures, some concrete aspects are carried out in some concrete fields. In second place, the disbursements or the deliveries of money to Portuguese authorities are subject to a quarterly review of conditionality, which is the same as saying that each 3 months we have the Troika in Portugal seeing if public money is being good applied. In third place, and this is a very problematic point, a very problematic topic from a political point of view, Portuguese authorities must consult the Troika when they intend to put in practice policies not consistent with the memorandum. And in fourth place, Portuguese authorities must provide the Troika with all information requested. Which are the areas or the fields of intervention? Several. I will only emphasize here some of them. Public finances in general, public administration at different levels, central administration, regional and local administration, healthcare system, judicial system, education system, banking and financial sector, public services as transport, energy, postal services, and so on.